Welcome to the Jump Shots from the Goal Line podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan Dugan. I'm joined by the other host, John Henningsen. We are coming to you at the 11th hour of the sports season. The NFL draft just ended. NBA playoffs are kind of right in the middle, almost winding down. And then after that, it is just baseball. And nobody loves that unless you're just a red-blooded American. And to that, I salute you. But now that we have the playoffs going on and it's getting dicey and it's getting interesting, and now with the NFL draft, a few teams making a few jumps in the power rankings with some great additions, some late minute trades. We got some cool content to talk to you about today. But first, let me go ahead and John, welcome back to the show. How are you doing today, man?
Good, man. Good. I guess, does red-blooded American just mean like old?
Yeah, I think not to get too out there, but I think a red-blooded American is any white male from the ages of 55 to 80 that
Yeah.
may or may not have served in a war and just really love steak.
Yeah. And if they didn't, they definitely think they did.
Yeah, they at least act like they did for sure.
And I'll say baseball's fine. And if you like baseball, that's great. But we all know, no one's really you're not doing a 162 game grind. Wake me up for the playoffs and sure, I'll talk about it then. If we have a big trade at the deadline, cool. But yeah, it's a tough go.
What's the song? What's the song? Wake Me Up When September Ends or something like that. I think.
Yeah.
Who was that by? Green Day.
Oh, I was going to go even further back. I thought that was written by a red-blooded American.
So no, I think that might be
Canadian
you're right. Green Day, and I think they might be referencing baseball because, like the rest of us, the months, the daily grinds of double headers and games that mean absolutely nothing, but people stress about. I'm not really all about it. I'm a huge Braves fan. I'm not going to lie to our audience. I do love the Braves, but I'm definitely your typical baseball fan that is. I'm checked out from the months of June until August, and then August comes in, and I'm like, I look at the ESPN app, and I'm like, oh, cool, the Braves might be in playoff contention. Let's go Braves. I'm definitely not your everyday baseball guy. I don't know a whole lot of people that are anymore. 162 games. Come on, guys. Let's cut the crap here. It's too many games.
You check the scores. You might follow along every now and then, see who's leading the lead in batting average, and then you realize someone's leading at 288, and you're like, what is baseball anymore?
Yeah.
I don't even understand. Oshie Ohtani is kind of cool. I'm actually
that guy is cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm a Diamondbacks fan, which sad. And this speaks to the sadness of my sports life. The Diamondbacks are the team I trust the most because they actually won a championship in my lifetime. So I actually am
Arizona sports.
Yeah, they're literally terrible. They have the worst ownership in Phoenix right now. The guy tries to move them every.
That's a hot take.
I know. No, it's not. Hey, look into it.
The Coyotes are a thing, John.
I know. The Coyotes are playing in a skate land. If you don't know what that basically they're they're in some sort of you can get
they're doing the electric slide at a skate land right now. Yes.
The chicken dance was being played the night before, and then they showed up. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm telling you though, that ownership is bad. That guy's trying to pull them out of there. The only reason it's not noticed is because it's baseball. So, but it's really truly bad. No one wants to hear about it, but it's bad.
Yeah, the most I've paid attention to baseball since this season started. Just quick shout out. One of my wife's friends named Priscilla, her cousin just got called up to the majors for the Diamondbacks, and his name's Alec Thomas. And she's been posting all over Instagram, and shout out to her, day one fan. Obviously, that's super, super cool. But then as soon as I saw that Instagram post, I went right back to not caring about baseball. So that should tell you everything you need to know about my love-hate relationship with baseball.
I think it's worth an Instagram follow. Yeah, if you want to double tap baseball, go right ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, you know what? We are in the United States of America. We did invent baseball. Don't let those freaking I know we have a few listeners in India, but hey, cricket is yours. Baseball is ours, baby. All right. That's ours. That's our baby.
Can you imagine if they played baseball for days like they do cricket? I mean, it feels like it. But
you know what though? Cricket, low key, one of those things where it's just I think it's just a bunch of dudes that want to go out there and drink beers, and they want an excuse to do it for days on end. And that's why they
Yeah.
just say, hey, like, we got to pick up the game in the morning. I'm over here talking like I know about cricket. Maybe some
Yeah,
of
I don't
our,
really know anything about cricket either, but now this brings me to the point of like I'm talking to my girl earlier, and she's just like, "Oh, look at this! Like, guys always choose these things that take forever. Like, why do guys take up hobbies like boating or golf that get them out of the house for 5 to 6 hours?" Well, you know what, ladies, you have that option. Empower yourselves, please.
and let's be real, that's a
Go.
reflective question. If your
Yeah,
man is having to go play golf for 5 hours on a Saturday, you might need to look in the mirror.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, look, if you want that kind of hobby, if like you're looking at me with jealousy, right? If you're feeling a little green with envy, like go find yourself a hobby that takes 6 hours. Like, ain't no one stopping you.
Well,
So
John, let's be real. Your girlfriend does have a hobby, and it's called Target. She does go there for 6 hours. So
yeah, she could, but that's the thing is like she's so good at it. She's like efficient now, and she's done in like an hour,
uh,
30 minutes. So it's like she's like, well,
she's mastered it.
how am I gonna fill my days? And I'm like, I don't know, pick up boat. And she's telling me there's no water in Arizona, which does seem to check out. But there's plenty of hobbies out there. So ladies, again, if you're throwing shit at your man, just look in the mirror, self-reflect before you throw stones. That's all I would ask. Like, I'm not saying she's right or wrong here, but just before you attack my lifestyle, let's kind of talk about what you're doing to find these hobbies.
God, we sound like such just man pigs right now. And I'm sure that, if the far chance that my wife or your girlfriend actually listen to this podcast, they're going to have a strict talking to with us. So,
Well, hopefully one of those ads just breaks it up and they lose interest. And
yeah,
then
please God, let the State Farm ad run during this whole
yeah,
thing.
yeah. So yeah, just Cliff Paul, save us.
Yes, please God. Awesome, man. Well, hey, outside of that, how's everything been with you, man? Like, what's going on with
Yeah.
your life?
I feel like we're already on a mini tangent, but so the girl's away for a little bit, so I've been taking care of the dogs, which like I've always been a big dog guy, so I'll just say like in my life, like the struggle for me is always the two smaller ones because they like all the dogs are really attached to her in particular because she had them before we like entered the relationship, but the big dog still like rolls with me.
Yeah.
Little dogs like big hamster vibes, you know what I mean? They just do gross things. They
Yep.
hide under things. They roll themselves into blankets. Like
Yep.
they just like I don't little dogs. I mean, they're fine. Don't get me wrong. I love them. This is like a pro dog podcast across the board. I think
Absolutely.
it's safe to say that. So no matter the size of your dog, I do love your dog, but I will say I definitely prefer and enjoy a much larger dog that I
Sure.
can do stuff with and not
Yeah.
just pick up their crap inside and out, depending on how they're feeling that day.
Listen, my test for a dog is if in any case, like if the apocalypse is hit and somebody's about to rob my house, can this dog at all in any way help defend me? Now, granted, I own an English Cocker Spaniel, so let me tell you, Maya would probably be the first to go, but I'm sure she would give it her damnedest to defend my honor, unless that person had a treat. And that point, yeah, my dog is a giant pansy, so we'll just have to see.
Yeah, I'm over 3 over here. I'll
The apocalypse hits,
just
we're done.
just point blank. Like they're not saving me. I don't even know if I'm gonna have time to save them. Honestly, like 2 of them might be hiding.
There's
You know,
no I am legend vibes in this household. Let me tell you,
yeah.
I'm not a Will
Ooh,
Smith guy.
sad dog movie.
Yeah.
Sad dog movie. Touchy subject.
Moving away from that, speaking of dogs, I just got a new dog. My wife brought home a Shiba Inu, which, if you don't know what that is, it's a Japanese dog, and they're super cute. If you know what Dogecoin is, or any kind of Doge related memes, it's that dog. And nobody's claimed it, so I guess it's mine. And because it's of Japanese origin, I've decided to name it Goku because I'm a huge Dragon Ball Z fan, and I think that's the only way you can go. It's a boy dog, so we're good. We're just going straight Goku. Super nice dog, and maybe this dog will actually defend my honor.
uh, I mean, I hope like well, congratulations on the dog first and foremost, and then I'm glad that you're into like that whole scene because all of my names would be like just like I eat Japanese food. I
Yeah,
like the idea of Japan, but I'm very much like Tom Cruise in The Last Shogun vibes is really kind of where I stand. Like, it's is that the right movie? Is that what it's called?
It's The Last Samurai.
The Last Samurai, The Last Shogun.
You were
See,
close.
so that's like, well, proving my point. I'm glad I wasn't in charge of naming a Japanese dog.
Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
it's not too late to name it Godzilla because that's also a sick name.
yeah, that's a good name. I mean, you could go. We just mentioned Otani. You could go.
Another
Yeah,
strong
like
choice.
Ichiro. I mean, there's
Here's my predicament. I own a well, I also say I own. I have a 2-year-old. I do own her. Because my wife had her. This is just so awkward. Anyway,
it's your
I have to
child.
pick I have
Hmm.
to pick a name that the 2-year-old can say. Goku is pretty easy to say. If
Yep.
I pick Otani, Lord knows what the 2-year-old will say. Like it's just going to be so weird.
Yeah, O'Shea immediately sounds like something else. Ichiro's
Yep.
admittedly tough.
Yep.
Um,
It's a
yeah,
tough
really.
sell.
Yeah, I think I probably should have never even dove into these waters and just let you swim in them by yourself. All I did
Yeah.
was
I'm
poorly
drowning over here.
execute. Hey, let me rattle off 10 what I believe to be Japanese words. Ready?
This is literally like I'm drowning in the ocean and you're throwing me an anvil. So, thank you. All I can say is you tried to help. You're a good friend, but we'll see. Goku, great addition to the family. Anyway, moving on, right? Like
Sports.
our this is a sports podcast. Here you go. So we'll dive into the NFL draft, right? It's pretty easy. It's already been done. Not a whole lot to talk about. There's some winners and losers, obviously. I wrote a whole article about it on duganfootball.com. Sick plug. Go to duganfootball.com. I need the viewership. Please, God. Please do that. So please, like, go to the website. I work in sales, and yes, my boss, who's an avid listener of the show, is gonna listen to this. And hey, boss, I don't want you to think that I don't love my job. I love it. I go in every day. I love it. But my true passion is writing about sports, talking about sports. That's why I do all this work, right? Because I'm actually very passionate about it and I love doing it. And it would mean the world to me if our listeners would go to duganfootball.com and check out the articles I post. So we're going to talk about the winners and losers of the draft. I have an article on there if you want to go read about it. But hey, the first winner of the draft, I have to talk about it. And this is not a homer pick, but the Baltimore Ravens won the draft this year.
Homer.
Yeah, I know, right? Hey, the Baltimore Ravens fan picked the Baltimore Ravens as his biggest winner of the draft. Huh, shocking. Wow. Yeah,
Guy in the
shocking
purple
off.
shirt. Guy in the purple shirt. No way.
I'll have you know I'm wearing black right now, which is also a Ravens color, but point aside. Anyway, hey, look, when you're able to, procure 2 first round picks, granted you had to trade your number 1 wide receiver in Hollywood Brown to get it. Hey, that kind of burns, but look, Hollywood for 3 years was kind of an up and down player. Watch the Detroit Lions game from this past season. He dropped like 3 touchdown passes, but he did have his moments too. Watch the Cleveland Browns game from a couple of years ago where Lamar, went to the locker room, took a huge dump, came back, ran around the pocket, threw a touchdown to Hollywood. That's just the kind of player he is. Up and down kind of player. He's going to a team in Arizona that, they have a prima donna at quarterback, but it is somebody that he played with at Oklahoma. So good for him. Both sides were very professional about it, kept it silent. You didn't hear about it till the actual draft day trade. It even shocked like the Ian Rappaports of the world. You go out, you get the 23rd pick for Hollywood, you trade it to Buffalo, pick up an extra 4th, draft Tyler Linderbaum from Iowa, who should man the center position for, the next decade. And then with your original first round draft choice at 14, you go out and get Kyle Hamilton, who I highlighted on the last podcast as just a very heady player, extremely intelligent. He's going to be able to call out the defense for years to come. You pair him with somebody like Marcus Williams, who you went out and signed this offseason. And then with the stud corners of, Marlon Humphrey and Marcus Peters, the Baltimore Ravens defense is going to be right back in it with just an excellent secondary. Then you go out in the second round and you get David Ajobo from Michigan, who was a top 15 player before the Achilles tear. If he is able to come back this year and provide anything, that's a home run pick. Then Travis Jones in the third, who I had as a borderline first rounder. And then in the fourth round, you have 6 picks, leading off with Daniel Falale from Minnesota, who could man the right side for the next few years. picking up Jalen Armour Davis, who, if he can stay healthy, could be a starting corner in a couple of years. And then just, the rest of the fourth rounders, just getting talent across the board. So, what do you think, John?
Yeah. So I think a couple of things on that. I mean, I'd be remiss and I hate to, I just can't pass up this opportunity to rank the top number twos in sports history. And hopefully you'll follow me on this. Number one, Paul Pierce's number two, an all-time great, one that I'll never forget. And then number two, and as long of a list as I think is you need for number twos, Lamar Jackson comes racing in, waddling in at number two. Obviously one of my favorite moments. And then, it's hard as much as I'm giving you, a hard time with like, oh, Homer Ravens, but tradition. It's a tradition. Every year that you're going to see, as you mentioned, the Rappaports, the McShays, the whoever they are out there. It's a safe thing to say the Ravens did well in the draft. Like they traditionally draft well. They build from the draft. We all know it, so it's not a surprise to see them up here. And I don't think you're crazy for putting them up there. The one area I'll push back on is, can you really be the winner of the draft if you drafted a punter?
Now, listen here. Look, I know you're a Chargers fan, and special teams isn't something that just really gets you excited because it's not anything that the Chargers have ever been good at. But look, drafting a punter in the fourth round to pin teams at the 10 for the next 10 years is something that is going to continue to get them a good draft grade. Jordan Stout from Penn State did that all season for Penn State. Just one of the best punters in the draft. Granted, he's not the punt god, Matt Ariza from San Diego State, but he's a damn good punter. I love the pick. You can go ahead and make fun of me for it. But hey, value is value no matter where you draft it.
Yeah, Ariza just too good at punting. Honestly, like outkicks his coverage, too good at punting. Wouldn't want that. Not Ravens football. When we punt, we cover.
The only thing I know about outkicking my coverage is, how I married my wife, but that's a point for another podcast. Anyway.
Hey, no, that's a nice recovery from earlier, though. Anything we got in trouble from earlier, if we sneak in, babe, hey, like minute 32, check it out. Yeah. Check it out. Hey, just saying. See if we can get that snipped in post.
Fast forward for that sick punter coverage where I definitely make up for trashing you earlier about, golfing on the weekends. Anyway. Number 2 overall winner for the draft. Raise your hand if you're shocked, but the New York Jets, yes, the New York Jets, they are always clowned for who they take in the draft. Always missing, taking the Geno Smiths of the world. This year, hey man, they nailed it. They got our boy Sauce, who's, again, how could you not win a pick when your guy's name is Sauce? But then you go out and you also get Garrett Wilson from Ohio State, and you get Jermaine Johnson at 26 or 27, one or the other. I can't remember. Apparently he has gang affiliations. So, hey, good for him slipping in the draft all the way to 26 because he decided it would be, hey, gang, right? Hey, anyway, they absolutely nailed the first round, but then getting Breece Hall in the second round, jumping the Texans to go out and get him, pairing with last year's pick, Michael Carter. They suddenly have a pretty nice offense if Zach Wilson can keep up the momentum that he showed in the second half of the season.
Is it true that Zach Wilson's been packing on the pounds? Have you seen the pictures out there?
No, I haven't. Do tell.
Someone's telling me that this guy's like beefed up and he's really like packing on the weight. And I was just kind of listening to the guy and going like, why do I like what? Why? I don't need my quarter. Like, why? Why do I care? Do we need a bigger, was anybody thinking, did anybody watch the Jets last year and think, I think if Zach Wilson beefed up, look out for this Jets squad.
Listen, bro, if he's dirty bulking, that's his business. Okay. We've all been there. I dirty bulk year round. So I have sympathy for my man. But hey, look, at the end of the day, if he can put on some healthy weight and go out there and take some shots and still, get up and throw the damn ball to Garrett Wilson, hey, good for him. But hey, the Jets winners.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's cool to get the Jets in there. That makes me think that, you went, at least you didn't go chalk with this one, right? Ravens is kind of an easy, safe. Obviously, it feels like home cooking for you, but it is. It's like we know. But the Jets, and I know certainly a lot of people talked about it, but if you believe it, you got to say it. If the Jets, we really think did something nice here, and I think a lot of people believed in Saleh. Like I think, I think we think he's a winner, and you can't wash all the Jets off in 1 year. So it'll be interesting to see what they come up with this year and what they look like, if there's any improvement, and that's like a better looking franchise. I always want to say program. I'm such a college, but that's a better looking franchise this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And then our third winner of the draft, the Kansas City Chiefs, right? I know you love to hear it as an AFC West guy,
Who are the
but hey,
chefs?
look, yeah, the chefs. The chefs cooked something up nice in the first round. Let me tell you, they turned the Tyreek Hill trade into a phenomenal draft, picking up Trent McDuffie with their first pick. McDuffie, a little undersized, but a hell of a corner, plays tough. I highlighted him in the last podcast. Picking up George Karlaftis from Purdue at the end of the first round. Definitely a good edge rusher, plays with a heavy hand. That allows them to kick Chris Johnson back inside where he can do a lot of damage. And then picking up Sky Moore in the second round, kind of the Tyreek Hill replacement. I thought they had as good of a first three picks of anybody outside of, probably the Jets. And that's including the Ravens. I love the Chiefs draft, and it pains me to say because they're a fellow AFC team. But you know what? They went out and they got some really, really talented players, drafted smart. It makes sense, right? Good teams usually draft smart. So, yeah, Chiefs is my third winner.
Yeah, I mean, I got to say, going from Tyreek to Sky doesn't sound real promising. And I do want to go back before I just completely forget. If you pick Sauce Gardner, you're a winner. So let's forget. I want to stay heavy on the sauce on this podcast. So I didn't want to miss that opportunity after all the pre-draft talk about Sauce. To me, not even touch on it seemed just disrespectful.
Listen, bro, I've seen you get heavy on the sauce, and it's always a good time. So don't worry about
it. Yeah, so we will stay heavy on the sauce on this podcast. The Chiefs, I mean, they do draft well, right? And they're kind of like, they're built around spark and like who tests well, fast, speed, strength. They want to build around those kinds of tools. Do you think they kind of stayed consistent with that? Is that kind of what you're seeing, and that's what you like about what they've done? Is they've just added these athletes that fit these pieces in places, the way the Chiefs seem to do?
Absolutely. Yeah. Trent McDuffie's a fast kid. Sky Moore, really good route runner, but he's quick as hell too. You know how they are in Kansas City. They want to build a track team around Patty Mahomes. So yeah, just more of the same. So, even though they lost Tyreek Hill and they're probably going to experience a little bit of a drawback from that, I think they're still going to be a really, really dangerous team.
And Tua already out there getting criticized in like camp for like underthrowing Tyreek in a jog. And he'll never hey, Tua, welcome to it, man. You are going to be in the spotlight now. Good news, Tyreek Hill's in town. Bad news, Tyreek Hill is in town.
Yeah. Hey, you know what, though? There's a lot of quarterbacks that would underthrow Tyreek Hill. That dude, he goes by Cheetah for a reason. But the rumor about Tua the whole time has just been that, kind of weak deep ball. And we're going to see a lot of that this year. So,
yeah.
Moving on to the losers of the draft. Wah, wah. We're going to go with the New England. Yeah, a bunch of nerds. We're going to go with the New England. We're going to go with the New England Patriots, taking Cole Strange in the first round. What a strange pick. No, but in all reality, like
another womp, womp, womp.
Stupid pun. Anyway, taking Cole Strange in the first round, who most people had him as a third round talent. The dude, look, he's a good player. Will probably play center for them or guard. A small school kid coming from Chattanooga, but first round, that's crazy. I mean, I don't know if anybody, I know you saw it, John, because you sent it to me, but the Rams just absolutely kind of clowning the pick in their press conference, talking about that they wasted all their time scouting the guy when they weren't supposed to pick until the third round. So that should kind of tell you where most teams even had Cole Strange. So kind of a weird pick. And then going from there and then taking Tyquan Thornton in the second round, the Baylor speedster wide receiver, also kind of an odd pick, not really because I don't think he's a talented player. I think he could be potentially a good player, but I had him more of like a fourth round kind of guy. And when you look at who else was available when they took him, when you have a George Pickens and Alec Pierce, even Sky Moore, who we just highlighted, it's just really weird positioning and draft value when you look at it. And then from there, they took Marcus Jones and Jack Jones. Both good players, but both kind of do similar things. I think both of them will probably be really good, like slot corners. But that's the thing, right? Like taking them back to back for playing mostly the same position. I don't really see either one of them being able to play on the boundary on outside corner. So just again, really weird draft value. I say it all the time. Obviously, Bill Belichick's like the greatest football coach of all time. I'm not going to take that away from him, even if he's a weirdo and he cheats. Hey, facts are facts.
Shots fired. Shots fired.
Yeah. Anyway, Bill Belichick, the GM, gets bailed out by Bill Belichick, the coach, all the time. Like the dude doesn't really draft well. He just doesn't. I mean, when you're taking N'Keal Harry in the first round and homie hasn't done anything for what, like 3-4 years now, like he's just not that good at drafting players. And in fact, most of the players that do well in the Patriots get drafted by other teams, kind of suck. And then he's able to revitalize their career. So he is a good coach. He's just not really good at drafting. So for me, it was no real surprise that they're a loser in my winners and losers draft. Hey, Patriots fans, hopefully you're okay with your draft, but I'm just letting you know, really, really weird draft value chart that you guys have there in Foxborough.
And they're not happy with their draft, right? They're going to complain. They complain about this every year, and we all know, like, we're just waiting for them to do their weird thing. Then at this point, I think we're kind of used to maybe 8 games in, 10 games in, you'll start to see them like put on a little run and you'll be like, wait, should I be worried about the Patriots again? And then you'll see a meme of Tom Brady on a boat and laugh to yourself and chuckle and think, probably not. And like, honestly, like, I don't know. It's kind of where I'm at. He's obviously one of the greatest coaches of all time. No one's ever going to take that away from him. But at this point, I am kind of going like, Mac Jones, Tom Brady's definitely winning this, Brady's definitely winning this, by the way. The breakup's going much better for him than it's going for Bill. Like, stacking checks over here, retiring, unretiring. This guy is doing whatever he feels like when he wakes up in the morning. This is typical for the Patriots. Like we have this conversation every year, probably the first time we've recorded it. So I'm glad we're putting it on record. But this is the conversation we have, right? And every sports fan has, like, what the hell are they doing? And then at some point, they'll kind of figure it out. But because they don't hit on this and because they don't have Tom Brady, are you really afraid of them come playoff time?
No, I'm not. Mac Jones could end up being a good quarterback, but it's not really like he has a whole lot of weapons that are meaningful and then just making weird draft choices. Yeah, I'm not too worried about him. But moving on to our next loser, the San Francisco 49ers. This kind of revolves around their inability to trade Deebo Samuel. You could kind of look at that as a win, right? Like you're keeping a top-tier talent. But the guy has said on multiple occasions that he's not happy where he's at. So not getting any kind of draft capital for that kind of guy who, if the season starts out bad and they have to trade him, this could be a lot of egg on their face. I liked their first selection in the second round with Drake Jackson from Southern California. I thought he was kind of a juiced up edge that was used incorrectly at USC. Kudos to them for taking him. But the rest of their draft was just really weird. Tyrion Davis-Price, I did not have him anywhere in the third round, more like the 5th or the 6th. And that just kind of, again, weird draft value chart. Danny Gray from SMU, taking him in the third was also confusing. I get that he's fast, but I don't think he's going to be a real impactful player. And then just the rest of their draft, it was just kind of all over the place when it came to just like draft value. They were taking guys a lot earlier than I thought they would. And then just ending it with taking Brock Purdy, who I think just absolutely sucks. And that's coming from somebody that's based in Arizona, where Brock Purdy's originally from.
Yeah, shout out Brock Purdy. My guy, Coach Brock Purdy. What are you doing?
Yeah, I know. Just, hey, what
kind of it's all good.
Brock, hey, yeah, sorry to your friend, but Brock he didn't impress me at all at Iowa State. So anyway, they were my second draft loser. Just really kind of similar to the Patriots. Just I didn't understand why they took the players when they did.
You go quarterback at Iowa State. No, but I guess I think what I'm finding interesting, and I guess we'll hear what your last loser is you're definitely taking some shots here in the losers at the smart guys, right? Like Shanahan, also the smart. I don't know if we think of Lynch as the smart guy or just the guy that's there, but like with Shanahan, right? I think he's similar in the Belichick mold where like when you hear everything about him, it's he knows the pieces that he wants, and so he gets a lot of credit for identifying the right guys, right? Like does Deebo Samuel work in every other system? This slew of running backs where they're like, hey, we're going to run, kind of like outside zone type action, and we're just going to have fast guys. And then one fast guy gets hurt, and we just bring in another fast guy. So,
yeah.
Interesting that I just find it interesting because these guys are the guys that probably get the most love, and it still may end up being that way come season time, right? We're going to talk about what great coaches they are, perhaps. But in terms of getting it done in the draft, it could be why they fall short the last couple of years, right?
Yeah, and hey, who knows? Maybe I'm the one that has egg on his face during the season, and somebody like Danny Gray blows up, right? Hey,
you better
I'll be the first. Better
put some
watch
respect
out
on Brock Purdy's name, my man.
Yeah.
I mean, what has he got in front of him? Jeremy Garoppolo, and
when Trey Lance comes out there and sucks, and they put Brock Purdy in and lights the world on fire, we better watch out. He's this year's Mike White. All right,
come on,
that's
Brock
right.
Purdy. I believe in you.
Yeah, stun on these hoes. Let's go. The third loser, kind of see a trend here, right? The last team and then this team both didn't have a first round pick, so it's tough to be a winner in the draft at that point. But the Los Angeles Rams, who famously wear shirts that say F these picks, they didn't have a pick until the third round where they took Logan Bruss from Wisconsin. I didn't like the pick. I think he has really slow feet, and I think he's going to have a hard transition in the NFL with a lot more speed and athleticism. And then just the rest of their draft was just really weird. Taking Jacoby Durant, who, is a small school guy coming from an HBCU, a feel-good story. I'm glad for the guy, but just, again, really weird draft value. Kyron Williams could end up being a pretty good pick, but then just the rest of their draft was just very underwhelming. Just a bunch of guys getting drafted at points where I either had them as undrafted free agents or, just a lot later than when they were actually picked. So yeah, the theme of the day is like, hey guys, like I get you don't care about draft picks and you just want to trade your draft picks for impact players. And there's merit in that. But with the draft picks that you have, please do give a crap about the draft picks. Don't say F these draft picks and pay attention to positional value and draft value. Because it does, make sense when you're fielding a team. So those are my winners of the draft and my losers of the draft. Check out duganfootball.com for that article. It dives a little bit deeper into those teams and why they're the winners and losers. But yeah, that's draft season. It is come and gone. One of my all-time favorite parts of the year. I'm sad to see it go. But now we are moving on into training camp and things like that here pretty soon. Who knows? We could see some draft day trade, or not draft day trades, but trades going into training camp. That always seems to happen. June 1st cuts are always fun and interesting. James Bradbury already got cut by the Giants. That's kind of a bigger name. So yeah, just stay tuned. I'm sure we'll end up talking about it on the next podcast. But more importantly, the thing that is captivating America's audience or the world audience is the NBA playoffs. And you know what? The second round has been electric. A lot of teams going back and forth, very close playoff series. So, what are your thoughts so far on the playoffs, John?
I guess it's just a matter of where you want to start. And I kind of just want to, I feel like I honestly just want to sort of get through one and like sweep it under the rug. So I'm going to lead off with, I mean, maybe this is like not the way you're supposed to do it. Maybe you're supposed to lead off with the one that's the hottest. But I'm kind of like, I'm just not into this Philly Heat series. Like, I feel like we all know the Heat are better. They're not healthy, so that makes them also not fun to watch. Joel shows up in game 5, doesn't win the MVP. After they get some momentum back from him returning with the mask, which is normally fun, and he kind of like mopes around the court. So I just
Yeah.
that series, like the playoffs have been awesome. Once you get to round two, like you get all these matchups that you've been wanting, and like you know that at least you're getting a reasonable amount of talent, or a system that makes sense, and they won a lot of games. You kind of get through some of the crap, and then like I'm watching Game 5 with them, and I'm just like, this is so uninspired
Yep.
yet again. But I don't know. The Heat are letting them linger around. I mean, do you have any thoughts on this series outside of what we've already outlined? Is James Harden is annoying? He shows up for one game, like Game 4. He finally actually is like. It was a Game 4 that he was good, James Harden again. I
Yeah, I
feel like it
believe
was.
so. Yeah,
I
he had
think
a
I think
pretty good game.
either Game 3, but I'm pretty sure it's Game 4. Game 4 we get good James Harden. Game 5 right back to, oh, this is like going another direction. Like, how do I check out of this and make sure I make minimal effort? And the
Yeah.
important thing is I don't get dunked on tonight because I already know I'm going to get clowned on. But as long as it doesn't really make the highlights, maybe people will think I'm still okay.
But that was the whole 76ers team on game 5, right? Like James Harden had 14 points, 4 assists. Like that's pretty shitty effort on his part. But then you mentioned it too with Embiid, right? Like only taking 12 shots for Joel Embiid is insane. And then having 17 points, only 5 rebounds, like they just seemed like they were sleepwalking through this game. They got bounced for 45 points. So yeah, like the Sixers, let's be real, they're a Doc Rivers led team. And I've said it to you many times in the past, the Doc Rivers always has these electric teams during the regular season that look like world beaters and they get to the playoffs and they just suck. And I guess you could say, like Joel Embiid's injury plays a little bit of that. But you still have like James Harden. You still have like Danny Green. Tyrese Maxey's a nice player. Like they shouldn't be getting beat by 45 points in the playoffs. Um, just insane. And I
Well,
get the Heat. The Heat are a good team, like you said.
yeah, like the Heat are good, and so that's
But
fine. Like I'm okay with
45
this.
points?
Well, like
Like,
this is they. I mean, I'm watching this game right there, and they're kind of hanging around at half, like it's fine, and then they come out and they interview. Man, we're gonna get Joel involved. We're gonna once Embiid gets him, and then he's in like ISO on the perimeter at 18 to 20 feet shooting jumpers, and I'm like, this is like if this is what you talked about, I hate this organization, and if it isn't what you talked about, what the hell is going on? Like,
yeah.
I don't understand. Like, just get this guy in the post, like run pick and roll with Hart, like I don't know, pick something, but nothing that they do makes sense to me. And so they're just like infuriating to watch. And then the Heat, I think, could be enjoyable, but it's like a little bit frustrating that they're not at full strength. But I think this would be back-to-back series now where I think they can actually be in rest mode, like where they're like, hey, just shut it down. Like if you're not feeling
Yeah.
great, Lowry, like don't worry, we got this. Like the Sixers are such a joke that we don't even have to bother. And so honestly, like too, and I know he's hurt, but like I really don't want to hear too much about the Embiid MVP talk. Like
No.
he's the guy, dude. The guy switch has got to be like you watch Giannis and then you watch Embiid and then you tell me what's different.
Right. Yep. I agree with you. Dude, a lot of blowouts this round, at least the last couple games, right? And I talked with about it with a few guys at work. Like it just seems like whoever's playing at home just has that switch on. And like we saw that tonight with the Grizzlies just absolutely dogging the Warriors by what 39 points without John Morant, mind you. And I get like Steve Kerr like having COVID. Yeah, that's crazy. That sucks. But like 39 points, you get beat in the playoffs with a team that doesn't have their MVP caliber star player. Like we've seen that with so many games. Like the Warriors have done it to the Grizzlies too. They've absolutely dogged them on their home court. Like, do you think, John, like, is it more so that it's just easier to play at home? Do you think the refs play a part of that, which we'll get into? Don't worry. We'll get into that big time when we talk about the Sun series. Or like, what do you think it is that these home teams are just slapping the away teams in this round?
I don't know. I mean, I think it's unique to every series. Like, so to me, the Warriors are in a series, and I think this kind of the same thing with the Heat, right? Like, I think they're comfortable. Like, when I look at the Heat and the Warriors, I think those are two teams that have been there before, and they're comfortable with knowing they can flip the switch. And so
Yeah.
I think there's definitely that built into that series, right? If I'm the Warriors and I'm looking at, hey, Jaw's the only guy that really scares me in a 1-game scenario. The rest of that squad, no offense, because obviously they won by 40 tonight, so I guess they're incredible. Like, they don't really scare me. And if I'm the Warriors, I'm sure they think they can flip the switch at any time, go back and get it done. And I think we just talked about it with the Heat. So I think that definitely is playing a part in those series. You see the Boston Bucks series has been really competitive. And then the Dallas and Sun series is maybe a different conversation. So I think they each are their own little conversation. But I think specific to like Warriors Heat, those are just two teams that are like really comfortable. Although I can't imagine being so comfortable that you would let down to the tune of losing to 45 points. But that's the best I could. I mean, that's the best answer I have for that. Is that
Yeah.
you know,
No, I get
everybody
it.
does that in life, right? Like you're comfortable, like you're ahead in your numbers, your relationship's going great, and you slack for a week. You know what I mean? And you have a
That's
bad
right.
week, you have a bad game, and I think you can chalk it up to that in those two series. Um, but I don't know. Did you want to? Yeah, I mean, do you have any different thoughts, or did you want to kind of hop into Warriors, Grizzlies? I mean, do you have any other thoughts on it
I
beyond that?
I think ultimately, like, I think you're right. It's just teams getting comfortable. And I think also maybe the Warriors just expected the Grizzlies to come out flat with not having Jaw. But and you know what? Maybe there is a little bit of merit of not having a Steve Kerr there and not being able there to like focus his team and motivate them. But the Warriors are just such a veteran laden team that's been there many times. I wouldn't expect that from them. And that series has just been so back and forth with blowouts. It's just an odd series. And then when you take a look at like the Bucks Celtics, you mentioned it, on your last point that's been a very competitive series. I mean, even with their first game, the Celtics blew out the Bucks. So each series has had kind of a blowout moment. So it's excuse me, it's been a very interesting second round. But that Bucks Celtics series has by far been probably the most competitive. I mean, tonight's game, good Lord, I thought the Celtics were going to walk out of there, with a W, and then Drew Holiday just absolutely annihilates Marcus Smart on back-to-back plays, and they walk out of there with a win. So, I think that Bucks Celtics series, I think whoever comes out of that is probably going to come out of the East.
Can we just talk about that though? That series, like at the end of the game, was amazing, right? So
That's what the playoffs are all about.
yeah, and I personally have my own opinions and have thrown a little shade at like the idea of Marcus Smart as Defensive Player of the Year. I know we kind of like talked about it at some point in this podcast and said, oh, our guy McHale, and I think you can make a case for a lot of these guys, right? There's a lot of really talented perimeter defenders. There's a lot of versatile bigs that could be in this conversation at any given time. With Marcus Smart, it's absolutely ridiculous to me. Like when you watch these games, there's legitimately like 2 to 3 as good of defenders on his own team, and that's why they should seem super equipped to be able to handle the Bucks. But I'm going to shelve the honest thing for a second. Nothing was more hilarious to me than watching Drew absolutely punk Smart to close out that game, and knowing Smart knows full damn well that he's a better defender, or that Drew Holiday knows he's a better defender than Marcus Smart, and he just
Yeah.
punked him. I mean,
Back
those
to
are
back plays.
two incredible. Yeah, the block was ridiculous. Is able to save the ball off of Smart, retain possession, and then the steal to close it out. I mean, you don't see defensive. I mean, that to me looks like a Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah.
Marcus Smart can flop with the best of them, and he's a part of a good defense, and that's fine. And he's a
Yep.
really good player. What Drew Holiday did was something very different.
Yeah. And we saw it, as Suns fans last year in the finals, where just Drew Holiday can absolutely shut down your best scorer. I don't think he gets nearly the amount of love that he should get as a defensive, just stud. The guy is incredible on defense. My biggest question, though, like with the game coming down the line, why do you have Marcus Smart bringing up the ball? And I get it. He's probably like their best, I guess, ball handler, maybe, but like you have a guy in Jason Tatum that like, I get Giannis is a really good defender, but that guy's a top 5 player this year, probably. I mean, Wouldn't you argue that? I mean, he's probably all
Yeah, I mean,
15.
he's gonna make one of the NBA first team. So like wherever he fits in that argument, like if you want to slot him anywhere from 1 to 15, right, depending on where you sit, I'm with you, right? And to your point, like Giannis is a great defender, but Giannis isn't gonna dog you in the backcourt as
No.
you bring the ball. Like he's not. His job is not to carry you for 94 feet, and I don't think that's what he would do. So I don't know. I'm with you. I don't understand why Smart. And this is what drives me crazy about it too, with the Smart thing. And this is going to seem like a really stupid because I really don't want to re-legislate these awards. It really doesn't matter. Like at the end, like I'm not even going to remember this 2 years from now, except for maybe because of the Drew thing. But if you're a Celtics fan, you've been complaining about Smart and trying to trade him every offseason for the last 5 years. And then every one of those same clowns went and voted for him for Defensive Player of the Year. Like, I'm like, dude, I listen to you guys. Every one of these sports guys that we all listen to, whether we like it or not, or whether they're at the Ringer, whether they're at ESPN, whatever. Boston. Oh, we got to get rid of Smart. If we could move Smart, he's like a bad point guard. Yeah, sure, he's defensively, but he takes really stupid shots. And then you get him at the end of the game doing exactly what you've been complaining about him for years.
Yep.
We are the same clowns that voted for him for Defensive Player of the Year because you wanted to justify the fact that the Celtics held on to him for 4 to 5 years. It's like sports insanity. It's like one of those things that drives me crazy where I'm just like, dude, like stop. Like what?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
I think the Celtics are definitely showing that they have a first-year head coach with Ime Udoka. Like, look, man, like you put a Monty Williams there, Greg Popovich, whoever, they're going to put the ball in their best players' hands with the moments coming down, even if it is on an inbounds at the other end of the court. Like, give the ball to Jason Tatum, let him work. Like, if they double out, like at least then you give it to Smart on a dump off. Or throw it, over the guy.
It's secondary action. It gets to Smart. That's different.
Right. Yeah, that's different. But I don't understand him bringing the ball up, especially when everybody and their mother knows that Drew Holiday is an incredible defender. So
and Smart's defensive player of the year, not the offensive player of the year. No one ever thought that. Like no one's ever. Yeah. So it's pretty crazy that it's in his hands. But I think we have to talk about it. Like Giannis is just
dropping a 40 burger.
He's nuclear, dude. He's insane. And honestly, like I know I've gone on my little complaints about him getting fouls and all this stuff. And that stuff still can drive me crazy at times, but he's so freaking good.
So good, dude. Like it's generational.
He's so good. And then you just saw that whole team was like, he just lifts the whole spirit of that team. It was just championship caliber closeout by that whole group. And honestly, it was freaking terrifying. Like if you're rooting for anybody else, what I witnessed was terrifying. Drew going off, as we just talked about, and Giannis the entire time just being absolutely relentless and never letting the game slip out of their hands, just dogging everybody on the court, literally whooping everybody's ass in every way imaginable.
Dude, and they're doing this without Chris Middleton, too.
No, that's the problem. They don't have Middleton. Like, they're going to get better. Like, that's what sucks. Like,
dude, they're a wagon without their second best player offensively out there. Like,
yeah, I'm hoping the Celtics suck. I'm just hoping that like they're overhyped and that we're going to find out that they suck, but not till next year or something. But if they're if they're even just top 4, top 5 good, this is a real problem we have with the Bucks. If you're rooting for anybody else,
I will say this: like, the Celtics could still come out and win this series. Like, they definitely could. They're good enough defensively. They have a stud player in Jason Tatum, so I wouldn't be shocked to see them win the series. If you're taking me for my honest opinion, I probably would take the Bucks to win, the next game. But the two teams that they would play in the next round both have guys that could potentially give Giannis his toughest task because, like, Bam Adebayo in Miami has traditionally played really well against him, and then Joel is an incredible defensive player when he's locked in. Like, and playing a guy like Giannis, I could see Joel like taking that as a challenge and really locking in. So I think the next round is going to be absolutely incredible one way or another.
Yeah, so everybody pray for that because Giannis is the freak. I mean, there's
just nobody like him.
Joel hasn't done it. Adebayo's been close, but he ain't the same animal. I mean, I'll take, as a Suns fan, bring on heat culture all day or the dysfunctional 76ers. I want nothing to do with Giannis and that man. The only part that's fun is, we get a chance to exact revenge, but Suns fans, you better be ready if that's what you're asking for.
Oh man, I will have my mini fridge stocked. I will tell you that much.
Yeah, like
If
I'm
we play the Bucks
stressed
again.
thinking about it right now.
Yeah, I'm heart palpitations, bro. Like
Yeah, my hands are sweaty.
palms are sweaty, mom spaghetti all
Yeah,
over again,
exactly,
dog.
exactly.
Let me tell you. But yeah, going into this Sun series, like we saved our team for last because let me tell you, I'm fed up. I am fed up with Luka Doncic, the fake tough guy Luka. My man I'm not even going to say my man. I say that about everybody. It's kind of my phrase, but this dude comes out walking through the damn tunnel after taking a 30-point L last night. And he has the audacity to say, oh, everybody's tough when they're up. Bro, are you talking tough? Like, oh my God. Like, when you're out there flopping, every damn time you have the ball, you have the audacity to say everybody's tough when they're up. Oh my! I have had enough of Luka Doncic.
You've won
That
one. You've won one series, man. All
that
you know is
fat
to be down.
Euro, that fat Euro can pack it up and go back to freaking Slovenia or wherever the hell he's from. Because I have heard enough of him talking. Like he is the most frustrating player to play or to watch. And this is somebody that his rookie year, and you don't know this, John, but I had a Luka Doncic world jersey from when they played the world, USA, whatever what used to be the rookie sophomore game in the All-Star.
You had a world jersey. Now you sound gang affiliated.
Yeah, hey, gang, gang, baby. Anyway, I had his jersey because his rookie year, I was like, damn, this dude. Let me preface this. When I play ball, I'm not the fastest guy, but I like to dribble it. I like to pretend I'm a point guard. So watching this man go out there and be slow mo and give people the business, I enjoyed it. But then seeing this dude come into the playoffs and try to act tough when all he does is act like a second grade Manu Ginobili out there flopping like nobody has before. Like I've had enough. I am fed up. Luka Doncic, I am fed up.
Yeah, I'm good on Luka, man. This is James Harden 2.0. He already has taken on his body, his lifestyle. He refuses to come into camp lean. And then he plays a slow game where he methodically is the center of the universe, or the center of the world, to reference your jersey. He is just everything. And then honestly, the guy takes loser shots just like James. Like the guy's living off step backs, is shooting probably 20% on them. I don't know. I can't remember exactly what the numbers are. So don't quote me on that. But look, we all know it's a loser shot. Like you're taking step backs, man. That means you're not getting anywhere. It means you're not getting a foot in the paint. Like you take step back because you're not moving your defender. Great if you can make it. Great, but you don't, and not consistently enough. And he's had some nice games in the series. The Mavs obviously have looked good at home. That's all well and good. This is just not enjoyable basketball. I mean, this is not enjoyable basketball.
They have looked good at home, and this is going to sound like a salty Suns fan, so y'all can roast me in the comments, whatever. I don't care. They have looked good at home because the refs have handed them so many just stupid calls. Like the 3 offensive fouls that DeAndre Ayton had in the first game in Dallas were just asinine. They were stupid. Like this is playoff basketball where, we separate the men from the boys. Like you're supposed to be able to play tough. You're supposed to be able to play through contact. You're supposed to have a loose whistle unless it's Scott Foster out there, damn it. Like you're supposed to, it's the playoffs. Like, and the 2 games in Dallas were just a giant ref show. It was just painful to watch for both teams. And like we're going back to Dallas tomorrow night. And I hope to God that Scott Foster doesn't get the call because that's just going to be game 7. Get ready for it. Chalk it down. Place your bets. Put money on the Mavericks because the Suns are going to get called for a billion fouls that they shouldn't be called for. And I'm not going to lie. I am so over this series. Like, again, salty Suns fan, being a homer. But the Suns are so much more talented than this Mavs team. Luka is incredible. But look, they showed who they were last night. They had 9 assists as a team.
Yeah,
As a team.
quitters and losers too, by the way. Like that's what I mean. Like, don't talk after you just like quit on the court and lost by 30. And then send in Marquise Chris to like,
good Lord.
Like, get out of here with this. Like, this is I know
the same guy.
I know what we sound like right now, but seriously.
Let us vent.
Seriously.
Look, like, Marquise Chris is the same guy that 4 years ago was playing for the Suns, getting beat by 30 on the Suns court. Nothing has changed, okay? He's also the same guy that got choked out by Serge Ibaka because he wanted to act like a fake tough guy. Now he's trying to do that with a fellow African and Bismack Biyombo, and Bismack Biyombo would eat his lunch.
I was going to say, like, you think he like, hey, don't mess with them dudes in the world jersey, gang affiliated. What did we just talk about? Baby. What did we just talk about? But seriously, like, you do. Hey, I honestly, like, if you think, I'm just going to bring this up, and this is like completely off tangent. I always like mind blown by the gall of someone to think whatever neighborhood that they came from was tougher than whatever continent someone else generally came from, right? Especially when you're talking about like these kids from, whether it be Africa, whether it be parts of South America, like Steven Adams is like a real, and Luka's kind of, and as I'm saying this, I'm going to have to like be like, well, I guess Luka's from another continent. But Europeans are playing like, look, they're smoking cigarettes, coffee, basketball. Tony Kukoc is well established. Like, these guys are eating big meals, smoking cigarettes, and drinking espresso. So let's take Europe out of it. If you're from anywhere else, like you might have had a little bit of a harder walk of life. And so why you're stepping up to that guy? Like, oh, I bet this is my mark. Hey, yo, it ain't.
Listen, Bismack Biyombo gave up his entire salary this year to rebuild the village that he came from. That should tell you all you need to know. My man grew up in Africa where times are tough. You think he's scared of Marquise Chris, who's from freaking where? Like Sacramento? Like, man, come on. And then chasing him down the tunnel. You are such a fake tough guy. That's what the Mavericks are. It's a team full of fake tough guys that they're going to run into a team like the Suns that have Bismack Biyombos, that have JaVale McGee's, that have Torrey Craig's, who might not do a whole lot great, but they are definitely tough. Like, I am not going to step up to a Bismack Biyombo and think that I'm going to win that fight. So let's hope that the refs swallow their whistles in Game 6 and it's a real game. And you know what? If the Mavericks still win without having the refs in their back pocket as a sixth man on the court, you know what? I will applaud you and I will say, you know what? Way to make this a tough series. But if it's another ref show, man, it's the fix is in. Adam Silver, what are you doing? Like, make this, like, people tune into the playoffs because they want to see, you know, games like the Celtics and the Bucks. They don't want to tune in to these stupid games where you have 40 different foul calls because the refs want to make it all about them. Like, let's swallow our whistles and let's play ball.
Yeah, if I have to see Chris Paul go dead in the eyes again, just know, like, if you see Chris Paul go completely dead in the eyes from a call, you could probably just turn it off.
Oh, my God. That foul that they had with Chris Paul where he literally didn't even touch Jalen Brunson on the rebound and they called a foul, I knew right then. I was like, you know what? We ain't coming back in this game. They're not going to allow it. But you know what? Let's talk about it real quick. Chris Paul has been kind of absent this series too, right? Like, now granted, the rest of the team has stepped up. Like, you know, Booker's doing his thing. Ayton's playing pretty well. Bridges playing pretty well. But Chris Paul, in last night's game, in 35 minutes, had 7 points. Now, and I get it. Like, Chris Paul isn't the type of player that's, you know, every night going to put up 20. But putting 7 points up in a playoff game where the game before that, you had 5 points. Like, CP3, we need you to step up in Game 6 and shut this down.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you, but I gotta say, I mean, I just think he's always playing chess, and I don't really stress too much about fourth quarter turnovers when he's down 30. I don't really care about 7 when they're feeding off Book. And look, Paul's still getting a lot of attention in those situations. So, you know, I mean, they're still sending doubles his way. They're trying to trap him. That, you know, they're doing everything they can to, you know, cut off the head of the snake and thinking that it's Chris Paul. And in Game 5, they just shifted it to Booker, right? Like, they let Booker make a lot of those decisions, and it worked. So I think the answer can simply be Booker. And I also think Chris Paul wants to close this, and he wants it bad. And so I'm honestly not too worried. My concern is the one we talked about, like whether the officials get too far involved. And even still, I think they can battle through it. So as long as we don't get that super dirty draw, I like the kids to figure it out. But like, I just don't want to see it because it affects everything you do. You mentioned Ayton, like he gets those weird charge calls. Everybody's in Phoenix is screaming at Ayton to be more aggressive. He does it once, and he gets called for a charge for like turning his shoulder into someone to get to over the, it's ridiculous. He's trying to get to a jump hook. The guy doesn't even want to dunk the ball. So like when he gets called for offensive foul calls, it's like, what is that? It's a tough look, but I still think I think the Suns get it done in 6. I really am hoping so, obviously, too, as a fan. If it comes back to 7, so be it. I think we're fine. But Chris, with Chris, I'm just like, just stay healthy. Just do your thing, man. Like I think I think it's going to be okay. As much as I was slamming the panic button after Game 4, just being like, the fix is in. Tim Donaghy's back in the building. All my nightmares are happening. I just don't. No one talk to me.
And you know what, Chris Paul, you kind of talked me off the edge. Like he is usually money in games to end a series. You look at that Pelican series where he went, perfect from the field. I think he had 30 points, something like that. We could potentially see that tomorrow night. Hopefully he puts Luka in the blender, puts him through personal hell like he did in Game 1. So
please,
we'll see, man. I think if they
do it for America, suck it, world. America's back. Chris Paul, let's go, baby.
Do it for the red-blooded Americans, Chris. Come on, bring it full circle.
That's right. For that white male 55 to 70 that listens to this podcast, do it for them.
That's right. And, if they are able to close out the series and they have to play this Warriors team or a Grizzlies team without Ja, I think they definitely could be potentially going to the finals for 2 straight years, which if you would have told me that 5 years ago, I probably would have spit my drink out, or I probably would have seen how many beers I drank that night because that sounds like a drunk thought. So let's hope to God they close it out tomorrow night, and then we'll see what happens in the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah, so do we think ultimately, just to kind of foreshadow a little bit, do we think we ultimately see then Suns, Warriors, Bucks, Heat, and then, I'm sure we'll meet again before we have to talk about what we expect for the finals?
Yeah, I think so. And ultimately, I probably think it's a rematch of last year's finals. And if that's the case, I think it's going to be very similar to last year where I call you after every game and have to vent and cry on your shoulder because Giannis is just freaking insane. So let's hope there's a different result this year. Hopefully the Suns can pull it out. They have a little bit more size this year. But it all, it all hinges on tomorrow night. Let's see if the Suns can close it out.
Yep. Let's go.
Perfect, man. Well, hey, been a terrific episode. We got a little heated. You guys can tell that we're definitely, not in love with Luka Doncic.
You're winded.
I'm a little winded.
You sound audibly winded like that. Yeah.
I have been a little under the weather since Friday, and you know what? That might have been my last hurrah for the night. But hey, you know what? I'm a passionate sports fan. That's why we do this. I wanted to say thank you to all our listeners for, listening to this episode. Please click the subscribe button. Please leave a comment, leave a rating. It helps us attract more listeners. Please spread the word about our podcast. And then follow us on Instagram at Jump Shots from the Goal Line. And then follow us on Twitter. I'm at Dugan Football and John is at Henningsen John. Follow us for, your daily dose of dumb takes. Don't just wait for the podcast. And we hope to hear from you guys soon. Do you have any parting words, John?
No, just I mean, I'm all for the comments, like even good or bad. Like my favorite thing is when someone gets mad at me on Twitter for something I'm joking about. So honestly, fire away. I'm the kind of person that reads those newspaper clippings. I am the Michael Jordan of podcasting. Go ahead and throw your hate at me. It only fuels the fire.
That's right.
You can also say nice things. Honestly, like that's probably good for my ego too. But ultimately, we just would love to hear some interaction or say, hey, we like this, didn't like that, whatever you got. It always like makes me laugh or or puts a smile on my face. And if you're on
Or
Twitter,
hey,
definitely say something
if
mean on Twitter. Like that just always
or
that all like really makes me laugh every time.
or hey, if you're a fan of dogs, like we gave a whole lot of shout outs to dogs tonight.
Yeah, send me a
If
picture of your
you
dogs. I like dogs.
if you're part of the dog army, send us pictures of your dogs and leave a great comment. So with that, we will let you guys go. Thank you for listening, and until we meet again, thanks. Bye.